Hi, I'm Pat Fiume. I've been a realtor for over 30 years. I'm a host of the American Dream Show. Welcome to my show, Is This for Real Estate? Welcome back. I'm here with Tammy Deluca from the Cherry Hill Fire Department. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So what is your position with the Cherry Hill Fire Department?
So I'm the public education officer. I coordinate all of our public education events that we do through the fire department. I also provide education myself to the schools, to various organizations, and do inspections, so a little bit of everything.
So I'm assuming you have a lot of good fire safety tips for people, I guess, for people selling their home and people in general who aren't selling their home need to know these things.
Yes. So actually we're in October's Fire Prevention Month.
Okay.
So the theme this year is Cooking Safety Starts with You. Pay attention to fire prevention. So that's the official theme this year. Cooking fires are still the leading cause of fires throughout the United States.
I can imagine.
Mostly because people get distracted. Whether it be their cell phones.
I burn stuff all the time.
We just forget that we're doing stuff, and I go out and teach and preach this class, and I still have done it myself, where I've gone in the other room and literally forgot that I'm like boiling eggs until I smell boiling eggs, you know.
Well, my kids joke, they would hear the smoke detector going off down the street. They go, "Oh, Mom's cooking."
Mom's cooking, right?
And I guess a little woman's a good cook. Oh, it got a little better when she figured out that smoke alarm's not a timer.
Yeah, it's a leading cause of fires in the United States is cooking.
Wow. And where do you spend most of your time if you're a woman when you're home? Is in the kitchen.
Right.
Or man. A lot of men do the cooking too. Yeah, my husband's better than I am. He at least pays attention. Me, I'm like, oh.
So when we're talking about cooking fires, the biggest thing we want to make sure is that you have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen. In a path of egress, you don't want it right next to the stove, because you can stand about 4 or 5 feet away from the stove and put out the fire with the extinguisher. You just want to make sure you have the appropriate extinguisher. You want to have an ABC extinguisher, so that covers flammable liquids, which would be grease fires.
Is that what the difference is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's different classifications of fires.
I know when we do a home inspection or a resale inspection, we have to have a 210 ABC, and it has to be an egress as you exit the room. I guess that's why.
Right.
You want it in the right spot so people can use it if they have to.
So in other words, we don't want to put it in a basement stairway, because if somebody were to go grab that and the fire gets bigger, and now they're trapped possibly, and then they can't get out safely. So you want to have it somewhere where it's accessible. I mean, I personally have mine under the cabinet. It's not right next to the stove. And I make sure it's in a clear space where I can grab it personally. But you also want to know that you can also utilize it too. Having it there as a peace of mind, but you do want to make sure that you know how to use it, which they are very easy to use, just reading the directions. We use an acronym called PASS, which stands for pull the pin, aim, squeeze, and sweep.
So I would assume there's what's the protocol, like where you call the fire department? Like if you're trying to put it out yourself, what would you suggest would be the time to call, I guess?
We don't want to hesitate in calling the fire department. If the fire is getting out of control, we really don't want people putting out their own fires. We don't want to delay the fire department. So as soon as you can get out, call 911. Most people have cell phones nowadays, so we don't want you calling from inside the house. We want you get out of the house and then calling 911.
I think they say the same thing if you have like a gas leak or something. I know I had one. Because gas is odorless, the carbon monoxide, but we were smelling it, and they told us to open every window and get out of the house when we get there,
So if it's natural gas, you actually can smell that. That does have a scent to it. But with carbon monoxide, you wouldn't have, it doesn't have you can't see it, taste it, smell it. So the only reason you would know you have it is if the detector is going off.
Right. I think I had both.
So you do want to make sure if that's going off, it could be a battery going dead, but it could also be.
And it's not worth risking.
Correct. So get out and call 911. The fire department will have appropriate equipment that they're able to test the air and see how many parts per million if there is CO in the actual the home or whatever.
So better safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
It's not embarrassing to call the fire department, have them come out and check.
Absolutely.
And get out of the house.
Here in Cherry Hill, we're a fully career fire department, so we have 6 fire stations throughout Cherry Hill, as well as EMS. They're staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we do get a lot of phone calls in the office where people say, "Oh, we didn't want to bother the firemen.
Right.
This is their job. This is what they sign up for. You're not bothering them."
For a living.
We want people to call 911. We certainly don't want to see anyone get injured or burned or killed or anything from whether it be carbon monoxide poisoning or burned or anything.
They feel funny calling.
Yeah, we do not want people to hesitate. I get they don't. They'll say don't bring their big red fire truck or no lights or sirens, but we have to follow a certain protocol.
I actually I did that when my carbon monoxide was going off. My son was freaking out all night, and we had carbon monoxide in the house. And I'm like, please don't bring the red truck. And they're like, come with all the sirens. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, we have no control over, they have to.
Yeah. So October's Fire Safety Month. So what are some of the tips you have for people for Fire Safety Month?
So the big thing, obviously, is cooking. We'll make sure that someone is staying. If it's something in the oven or something, that's obviously different. But if you're cooking on the stove, you do want to keep in the kitchen area. If it's something boiling or something, you just don't want to go away from the stove or anything. The biggest things also we see is candles as we come upon, holiday season and everything. People have candles, making sure that they're away from children. Children have a habit of being curious, especially younger ones, and they want to, if they see mom or dad or an older sibling lighting a candle or something, sometimes they want to do the same as well. So, not that they're being bad, they just see, they're just curious or whatever. So, also with, our colder months now coming upon us, you want to make sure that your heater is working properly.
So you should probably get an inspection
inspected or have somebody come out and check it. Yeah. Either through like PSC&G has a program,
or whoever you
or South Jersey Gas, they have various programs.
Really key.
Making sure that the flue is not clogged or anything like that. That's what would produce carbon monoxide poisoning in the home. So anything that produces any type of gas product that produces combustion.
And I would think that applies to like fireplaces.
Gas fireplaces, if you have a
regular fireplace.
Gas hot water heater, gas dryer, gas stove, any of those devices would be producing carbon monoxide. Having an escape plan
that's big.
is a huge thing. We teach, from kindergarten on up, making sure that you're able to get out of the house safely. Kids are doing it all the time in schools. So we try to educate them and make sure that they're doing it at home as well. And the main thing really is making sure that we have working smoke alarms. That is what's giving you the heads up. If God forbid there is smoke in the home or a fire, you don't have very much time to get out of the house safely.
It happens very fast. And I think they have a program for senior citizens, don't they?
Correct,
They'll come in and do that.
Yes, we will install them, make sure that they have enough smoke detectors on every level, and making sure that they're working properly.
And the carbon monoxide.
Yes. So we'll provide them for seniors. We'll even just come out and check them too, because we don't want seniors getting up on ladders or anything like that. We'll come out and test them, make sure that they're working properly.
Yeah, because I know for our resale inspections, we have to use the one with the 10-year batteries now. And I was just in a house the other day, and they were so beigey yellow. I knew that they were.
Yeah, that's really they're older.
Yeah, like and I'm like, oh man, you have to change that. I think it was like, whoa, I haven't seen one that old in a long time.
Right. And people, they get mad sometimes. Oh, these are so loud, but you want it to be loud. You want to be woken up if there is a fire. You want to be able to get out of the house safely.
Well, like a very good friend of mine, her son's house burnt to the ground in Oklahoma like 3 months ago. They were cooking dinner, and they have one of them, and this is another thing, those deadbolts that have the key that you can pull in and out. In New Jersey, it's outlawed now. Like you're not allowed to have one that works on a key, because if the key's not in there, you can't get the door open.
Can't get out, right.
Well, they were cooking in the kitchen, and they heard a pop. By the time they got the door open, the entire house, something must have blew, like the heater or something.
Yeah.
They couldn't get out of the kitchen. Thank goodness the husband was home. He was able to, had to break the door down to get out, because that key was missing. One of the kids must have took the key out. The whole house just burned to the ground.
And it's scary. And a lot of people think, when we teach kids, and they think, can we grab our toys? Can we grab things? We don't want you. If something's there, by all means grab it. But even with pets and everything, we don't want people going back in until the firemen, tell them that it's okay to go back in. obviously tell the firefighters if there is pets inside.
Or anybody
Or
else.
anyone else for that
Right,
matter,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The first thing that the fire department does, whether it's a firefighter, it could be EMS that's
Or
there,
police
it could be police.
that show up
We never
first.
know who's going to be there first.
Right.
The first thing they're going to do is make sure that everyone's
Is
out
out.
safely.
Right.
And why we teach fire drills in the home is because just like the kids have a special meeting spot at the school, they would have a special meeting
So
place
you know everybody got
at
out.
home, right? A lot of things we see are mulch fires.
Well, we just had a landscaper here, and he forgot to bring that up. So I'm glad you were saying that. He was saying keep an eye on the mulch because if it gets too thick, it can be flammable.
Right. What
I never
happens
heard that
if
before.
somebody throws a cigarette butt or something down, it can insulate. It gets insulated in there, and all of a sudden it'll eventually catch on fire.
That's scary.
We've had quite a few fires here in Cherry Hill, not mostly at homes, but at businesses.
Right.
So now they make them have the mulch a certain distance away from the building.
That's something I had never even thought of until we just had a landscaper here who texted me and said, I forgot to bring up mulch fires.
Right, right. And being prepared as we're kind of on the outskirts of hurricane season, but you still never know. It's we've had Hurricane Sandy was in October, so I'm sure we all remember that. Making sure just any type of emergency throughout the year, if you have any medications or anything like that, having a list of medications. So if EMS or whoever comes first, could be EMS, all of our firefighters are EMTs as well. So if they get dispatched to a house, having that medication accessible for like the medics or anything can provide any extra assistance.
Some of the stuff you take over the counter too.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would think.
With emergencies, having extra batteries and things like that, flashlights, because we just never know.
Oh yeah, flashlights are huge.
We don't realize how much we rely on until the electric goes out, and we go to turn on a switch and we realize that quickly that the electric's out. So making sure cell phones or everything are charged up, and or having battery operated, backup for the cell phones, because not many people have house phones these days.
But
where they still worked when we didn't have electric.
And I would say check the batteries in your flashlights.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've reached for a flashlight and that battery's dead. You might need that to get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or to signal somebody to find you.
Yeah. Well, and nowadays
I watch
with
a lot
people,
of those shows on the
and even just when you are walking outside, we have all around everywhere, quite a bit of motor vehicle accidents.
Oh yeah.
Again, when I talked about being distracted with cooking, people get distracted while driving. And we see a lot of that in the fire department. I'm civilian, so I'm not responding out to the incidents or anything, but I work in headquarters, and that's where our rescue station is, and they're responding. It's like daily.
And
for motor
cars
vehicle
have
accidents.
gasoline. They have all kinds of things in the engine that are flammable.
Well, and now we have electric vehicles.
cars.
We actually just had a company donate an electric vehicle fire blanket that can assist with.
I was going to ask about that because someone was saying that's why Dietz and Watson burnt to the ground. They had solar panels.
Oh, okay.
And is that true? Like if you don't have an outside thing to turn your solar panels off, they can't put water on the house.
I believe they still are. It depends.
That's huge with solar panels today.
They are energized. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to ask one of the firefighters, but.
So I like to try to end my podcast with a funny story.
Okay.
That's something that might have happened with your job. Do you have anything that you tell, like when you go to a party, when everybody's always talking funny stories? You have that story or two?
I guess personal experience, when I was trying to tell people, we don't realize that the cats and dogs don't realize what fire is. And I have 2 lucky black cats at home. And just recently I was cooking eggs at the stove there. And I don't know how it didn't happen, but the cat came running up, and I have a gas stove, and how he missed the flame is beyond me. So now I have to put him out every time I cook. He has to go into another room because they have no fear of, they don't know what it is. It's not that they don't have a fear.
To them, it's pretty.
Yes, exactly. So, and he just runs 90 miles an hour.
To get to it.
To get to it. So, so.
I have a weird cat. I swear, if cats had other lives, he was an office worker, because every time I run my copier, my printer, my fax at home, he'll go run and stare at it, or he'll sit on it.
Yeah.
I put my work stuff down, he'll sit on my work stuff. It's the weirdest thing, but Your cat fire,
Yeah.
but I've noticed my cat will run to the fire too. Now that you said that,
Yeah,
a couple of times I've seen him go up to towards the stove. I'm thinking, what's he doing?
Yeah, and that's why we
Didn't
don't
even think
recommend
about that.
putting, like, if you have
Cat
cats,
food up there.
having a candle out on the table,
Yeah.
because they're a dog or cat, their tail can wag it and knock it right off or whatever. So
Wow,
the best
that
thing
is
they ever
true.
came out with was the
fake
battery
candles, yeah.
operated, and there's some really ones
Yeah.
that look just like a real candle burn and everything.
Well, I have
so.
a really funny story about this, but it's not funny now. But it's a funny story when my kids were younger. When my dad was still alive, he's been gone 9 years, but my father hated candles. For some reason, he said they're a fire hazard. He used to get so mad at me because I had candles all over my house. And my father, this is a bad story, but it's a funny story. So I had gone to Rancocas Woods, where I just filmed my American Dream show, and I had bought all these candles. My daughter bought this big wall thing to put up in a room with all these candles. And I said, Grandpa's going to have a fit, you know. So lo and behold, I get home, and somehow my electrical outlet, my friend who cleaned at the time, washed the outlet and flames shot out.
Oh, wow.
And my son was home, and I had to call 911. And as I got home, I see them putting an axe through my wall to get to the electric. It was frightening. Like, they literally had that red axe, and they went right through my my backsplash. And I'm like, oh my God. And and my phone rings. It was the hospital. My father, I was his medical contact, had a heart attack, and I had to get to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So I called my husband. I said, you have to come home. The kitchen's on fire. My dad had a heart attack. I'm going there. So my husband ran to the house. Somebody stayed at the house for me. I get to the hospital. This is the funny part. So my dad's like, so what'd you do today? He had just had a heart attack, and he's sitting like this. What'd you girls do today? We had my stepmother with us, and we went to Rancocas Woods. He goes, and you bought more of them damn candles, didn't you? And we it was like, we were like, I had to leave the room and cover my face because we were laughing so hard the whole
Oh my goodness.
It was like hysterical laughing just from the stress, you know?
Right, sure.
But he's like, I bet you bought more of them damn candles, didn't you? And I'm sitting there thinking, he doesn't even know the fire department's at my house right now.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Axe through my wall because I have a fire going on right now.
Oh my goodness.
It was awful.
Well, thankfully nobody was hurt. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I never even thought of that. Like, my friend was washing the switch that worked the light or something. I don't know what it worked, but flame shot out of it. I've never heard of that.
Huh, yeah.
But something must have been loose, or I don't know. I never figured out what happened there. We had to replace, obviously, the backsplash and
right.
that whole wall there. But, but it was something with the wiring.
One thing I don't mess with is electric.
Yeah.
I let somebody else handle that in my house. So.
Yeah. That was a funny story, though, because we were laughing so hard. We were like on the floor, and the nurses are looking at us like, your dad just had a heart attack, and we're like peeing ourselves laughing. We were like doubled over, trying to like hold it in. I couldn't even go back in the room to see my dad because he's looking at me like, you bought candles, didn't you? It's all he kept saying, you bought candles. That's why
you probably think of that every time now,
and I'm
right?
like, if you only knew. So, well, thank you so much for being with us. Some great tips, and maybe we'll have you back in the spring or summer to go over some more tips.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.